What's up, people? Thank you as always for passing by the channel. All right, one of the biggest success stories of 2018, if not the biggest success story really in the boxing world anyway, was Oleksandr Usyk, right? Fantastic years, won all the awards, has all the belts, made loads of money, made loads of friends, and I think more importantly, made loads and loads of new fans. And that's what it's all about, right? Because those are the people that are going to buy his next fight, go to his next fight, maybe even buy a pay-per-view if he gets on a pay-per-view. So he was easily, I think, the biggest success story of 2018 in the boxing world. And I think after that Tony Bellew fight, it was a case of what next for Usyk, right? He's definitely going to leave cruiserweight. He's definitely going to relinquish all those nice, new, shiny belts. But what next for him? I think the biggest thing he wants in the future is Anthony Joshua, but I still think that fight's a year away. I know people wanted it in 2019. I even mentioned it as a possibility for April in 2019, but I think we're talking 2020 possibly for Usyk versus Anthony Joshua. So what next, right? Who is he going to fight next? One of the biggest rumors that was circulating for a couple of months, I think, was that he could possibly fight Andre Ward. There was a lot of talk, trust me, a lot of talk about Andre Ward versus Oleksandr Usyk, but I think it just came down to finances, and I don't think both are big enough draws, right? Andre Ward would want huge amounts of money to come out for that fight. It would be shown on DAZN, so not pay-per-view, so he'd want an almost guaranteed amount of millions to come out of retirement and fight Usyk, and I just don't think, especially after they gave all that money to Canelo, that DAZN are willing to give Andre Ward what he wants. So that fight isn't going to happen. Although it would be fantastic to see it, that fight isn't going to happen. So where we are now with Usyk is that supposedly, and this is from the words of his promoter, so I guess there is a bit of truth in it, Jarrell Miller turned down the opportunity to fight him, and so did Joseph Parker. I'm not shocked by either, if I'm honest with you. Jarrell Miller, I think, just wants Anthony Joshua, and that's all he wants. And I think he thinks I think Jarrell Miller in his head thinks he's the second or third best fighter in the world, where for me, he just about scrapes in my top 10. I'll be honest with you. I would actually like to see Jarrell Miller versus Derek Chisora, just so I know where he is, because all this big baby talk, I'm just not convinced. He hasn't beaten anyone that I rate yet. So as much as I think Jarrell Miller versus Usyk would be a decent fight, I think Usyk would win. I really do, even though Jarrell Miller is 300 pounds plus. I just think Jarrell Miller has bigger fish to fry in his own head. So I'd understand why he doesn't want it. Joseph Parker, absolutely no chance. Joseph Parker isn't the biggest heavyweight, and he isn't a great boxer either. So I think in order to beat Usyk, you need to be gigantic, or you need to be a very good boxer. He isn't any of those. Plus, he's still on a rebuilding job for me. So I actually don't want to see Joseph Parker in with anyone in the top 10 for at least a couple of fights. I think he still needs to rebuild, get confidence, and then we can see where he is. So those two have reportedly turned down the fight. Normally when you hear about fights being turned down, I think the word that we always use is, oh, someone's ducked someone. I don't think it's the case with these two. I do think it's a case of sometimes it comes down to pounds and pence. And I think Usyk just isn't worth the reward that's on offer, right? I just don't think the money on table is worth fighting Usyk for. I think he's that good, that dangerous. You need to be paid handsomely. And I think if it's not 7 figures and above, they're not going to do it. And I wonder if both were offered 7 figures or nice 7 figures to get in the ring with him. I doubt it. The two names that look more likely, two names that have been put forward and two names where maybe small negotiations have started without any hiccups, are surprising ones to me. The first one is Povetkin. Interesting. And Povetkin's a very, very elite, high-level boxer. If you look at his amateur background, obviously that was ages ago, but nonetheless, he can still box. He's one of the smaller heavyweights, and I still think poses a big threat. I really do. I know Joshua knocked him out. I know that people might say he's getting on a bit, and people might say, oh, the PED thing, he's not the same after the PED stuff, etc. That guy can still fucking hit. That guy can box and hit. I remember the first 2 or 3 rounds against Anthony Joshua. Can't lie to you, my bum was flapping a bit. I was a bit like, oh, okay, Anthony Joshua might be in trouble here. So that's an interesting one. The more interesting one for me is Luis Ortiz. Remember when I mentioned Joseph Parker, I said you have to be either big or you can box. I know people still give me stick about this, but Luis Ortiz is big, he's a southpaw, and he can box. That is a fucking fight, ladies and gentlemen. That is a fucking fight. Luis Ortiz versus Oleksandr Usyk. Man, that's a good one. That's a good one. If that was to get made for 2019, then, I mean, Usyk has balls this fucking big. I mean, he's going straight for the jugular, right? He's not saying, give me someone out. I genuinely thought he would go for someone in and around the top 15. But with Povetkin and Ortiz, he's asking for two people, top 7. Top 7. I know I get stick for this, but for me, Ortiz is still top 4. Top 4, top 5. And Povetkin, although he got beat by Joshua, stopped by Joshua in the end, still a fantastic boxer. So look, one thing it does say about Usyk is that he ain't coming to fuck about. I mean, if those are the 4 names they've looked at in terms of potential heavyweight fights for him next, like now, Ortiz, Povetkin, Jarrell Miller, Joseph Parker, boy, I mean, you got 2 former world champions in there, a world title challenger, and a 300-pound Jarrell Miller. And that's his hit list. Oleksandr Usyk, 2019 could be a very, very fun year for you, my friend. Could be.